The first reading is from the book of Exodus. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the sons of Israel this: you must not molest the stranger or oppress him, for you lived as strangers in the land of Egypt. You must not be harsh with the widow or with the orphan. If you are harsh with them, they will surely cry out to me, and be sure I shall hear their cry. My anger will flare, and I shall kill you with the sword. Your own wives will be widows, your own children orphans. If you lend money to any of my people, to any poor man among you, you must not play the usurer with him. You must not demand interest from him. If you take another's cloak as a pledge, you must give it back to him before sunset. It is all the covering he has. It is the cloak he wraps his body in. What else would he sleep in? If he cries to me, I will listen, for I am full of pity." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The response to the psalm.
The first letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. You observed the sort of life we lived when we were with you, which was for your instruction, and you were led to become imitators of us and of the Lord. And it was with the joy of the Holy Spirit that you took to the gospel, in spite of great opposition all around you. This has made you great example to all believers in Macedonia and Achaia, since it was from you that the word of the Lord started to spread. And not only throughout Macedonia and Achaia, for the news of your faith in God has spread everywhere. You do not need to tell other people about it. Other people tell us how you started the work among you, how you broke with idolatry when you were converted to God and became servants of the real living God, and how you are now waiting for Jesus, his Son, whom he raised from the dead, to come from heaven to save us from the retribution which is coming. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Please stand to welcome the gospel.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. You, O Lord. When the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they got together, and to disconcert him, one of them put a question to him. "Master, which is the greatest commandment of the law?" Jesus said, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. The second resembles it. You must love your neighbor as yourself. Of these two commandments hang on the whole law, the people also." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In my life, it's really only since the death of my parents that I've actually begun to be able to ponder what love is. When your parents, those who love you more than anyone else, are alive, it's very much taken for granted. It's just part of what life is. And after they die, you wish that you had loved them adequately, but of course, as a child and as an adult, you don't really respond as you should. And as the years go on, you begin to recognize what they did for you. You begin to recognize how much of who you are is already them. In other words, that they're part of who you are. And in their personalities and in the people that they are, they continue to teach you how to love. I think that we'll all say something similar, that we act and love according to the way that our parents were to us and loved us. And that certainly is true. Today's gospel is about love. What's the greatest commandment? Love God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second, love your neighbor as yourself. It's a very easy thing to say, but who can tell me what this commandment really is? In fact, the understanding of this commandment, like the understanding of love that we have from our parents, is something which only emerges and becomes a reality which we begin to see within ourselves after the effluxion of so much time. It's something we never understood when they were trying to teach us to love. And this commandment is not understood just by simply reading it and saying what it says, because it says nothing different to what was taught in the Old Testament. And on these commandments, in fact 3 in number, everything hangs. Love God, love your neighbour, and love yourself. If only we knew how to do this. I will share with you something brief in regard to this, because this is a gospel passage that, please God, as every year goes on, as we read it, we understand more, because we learn the meaning of this commandment by reflecting upon love in our own lives and how love works. Because love is not fundamentally something commanded, but something which is experienced, and because experience is lived. The first way we look upon this commandment is about doing things. It's about doing things for others, doing things for God. But it doesn't seem to work. As I've pondered this in the 66th year of my life, it speaks to me of one amazingly important thing. I cannot love someone unless they have a space in my life. I cannot love myself unless I have space and time for myself. And likewise, I cannot love God except by giving God space and time. It's about presence. We don't love by doing things, but we learn to love ourselves by being present to ourselves and giving space and time to ourselves. We don't know how to love each other. It's certainly not about doing things, and yet doing things flow on from what love is. I learn to love you if I can find the time to give you space in my life, if I can find time to be present to you. But I only learn that by finding time to be present to myself. In being present to myself, I begin to learn what love is by how I've experienced love. And then, if I can be present to you, that engagement of presence is the place in which love is born. How can I love God? By saying prayers or by doing things? No. I love God by living in the presence of God and allowing God to be part of my life and in my life. So what do these commandments mean? We learn as we ponder our own lives, and as we ponder them, the meaning grows in us. It hasn't grown very far in me yet, but for me, as I ponder these commandments this year, it means time and space to be in the presence of myself, of you, and ultimately of God.